What's your name?
My name is Johnny Doskow.
What's your current job and how long have you held it?
My current job is with the Sacramento River Cats, and I've been with the River Cats since 2001.
How many years have you broadcasted baseball?
Since 1993, so this is my 27th year calling baseball, professional baseball.
Approximately how many weddings have you officiated in your life?
I've officiated 11 weddings in my life.
Coming up on this edition of Life Around the Seams, our guest is a very funny human being. If you work in baseball and your team is playing his team, you are instantly in a good mood because you know that as long as that series lasts, you're going to laugh. You're going to smile. You're going to have some deep thoughts. You're going to talk about life. You might end up making a bet about something ridiculous, but overall, life is better when Johnny Doskow is at the same ballpark as you. And today, this podcast will be better because Johnny Doskow is our guest on Life Around the Seams.
Former Major League pitcher Jim Bouton once wrote, "You spend a good piece of your life gripping a baseball, and in the end, it turns out it was the other way around all the time." Welcome to Life Around the Seams, a podcast about baseball people who have interesting stories from between the lines, and sometimes even more interesting stories outside the lines. Here's your host, Josh Sushan.
That was quite the intro.
It was, man.
The pressure is on for you to be funny.
Huge expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like that whole thing about, hey, be funny. You know, my friend's really funny. Hey, be funny. You know,
Starting now, be funny.
Right, go.
All right, so before we dive into this, I want to make sure that whoever listens to this podcast understands some words that you might say during this podcast.
Right.
So, for example, what does it mean to kiffle?
Kiffle means keep it bleeping low. We don't say we don't actually say the actual word, the F word, but keep it blank and low. That's kiffle.
What's the difference between a kiffle and a graveyard kiffle?
Graveyard kiffle is when you just, when I say kiffle, I mean really kiffle. Take it to your grave.
Okay.
So you don't even say this, even if you're on your deathbed, never release the information.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a graveyard kiffle.
What does grindy mean?
Grindy means you're super annoyed. I think grindy is annoyed over a long period of time. Like a certain thing grinds you. Early flights grind you. Those are grindy. Where chappy is more like that's quick chap. You're upset about it, but it's not over a long period of time. It's just an instant chap. Like a bird. We talk about the birds. A bird flap. That's chappy. A bird flapping around my.
When did you first start using the word grindy?
I think I started using it about 18 years old, 17 or 18.
So you've had a long shelf life with the word grindy.
Yes, I have. Indeed, I have.
What is an RG?
RG's a radio guy, and RG is that's the opposing RG, the radio guy. They use that sometimes. Like we have a name, don't call me an RG.
What does it mean to flap?
The flap means I would say flap is like a long conversation. Let's sit down and flap. That's more like 30, 40, 50, even an hour. Let's have a long flap. Flap can't be 5.
So we're about to flap right now.
Yes, we are. We're flapping.
We're flapping right now.
Yep.
Okay. Before we get into our full-scale flap, one of the things that I admire about you is that punctuation matters to you. I might say, Johnny, where are you at?
Right. I don't like that because it ends a sentence in a preposition. I don't like it at all. And it's the old joke, though, about the guy at Harvard, right? When he goes up to the senior and says, he said, the senior says, where's the restaurant at? And the freshman says, At Harvard, we don't end our sentences in preposition. He says, okay, where's the restaurant, asshole? Right?
But the great part is that if I end a sentence with a preposition, you get mad at me, but you also get mad at players when they don't speak properly.
I do. I want to help them. I mean, ending a sentence in a preposition, and people think the at thing is overrated. Like they say, you know what, now in the English language today, presently, we can now say at. And I say, no, I don't care if it's 1884 or 2026. No, you cannot end a sentence in a preposition. So I do get on them, for sure. Have to.
So we're going to get into some of the more entertaining moments of your life, but I do want to kind of set the stage. Because one of the other things that's really fun is that, especially at Sacramento at Rayleigh Field, you walk into the press box, and usually if someone walks in, first person they see is going to be you, and almost like 99% of the time, the first person they hear is going to be you.
Right.
And you want to make them feel welcome. So you know everyone's name, and you might have something to say, and maybe it's sarcastic, maybe it's serious, maybe it's a combination, but welcoming people and making them feel included is very important to you. And I'm wondering why.
That's a great question. I think, and it's funny you say that because I kind of brought that to my daughter too. When I drop her off at school, the last thing I say to her every time is be inclusive. Include everyone. I can't stand it when people are excluded. I just can't. I don't. It just there's.
Were you excluded as a kid?
I think we all have had those feelings of exclusion. I think in all of our lives, in different times in our lives, and I think I made friends pretty early because of the fear of being excluded. So I had kind of the gift of making friendships pretty quickly. But I do think when I see a player, we've had players in the past, and they're going to lunch by themselves, and you see it when they're excluded, and it just breaks my heart. I can't stand it anybody when they're excluded, and it's just a fear of mine to have anybody be excluded. I even told my daughter that, like, if you see someone eating by themselves, go up to them and talk to them and include them, get them to your group. And she's done that, which I'm proud of her. But it's my one fear is that just not so much me, but other people being excluded just bothers me a lot.
What was your clique in high school? Were you like with the popular kids, the nerds? Were you somewhere in the middle? Like, what was your clique?
I was kind of in the middle. Yeah, we weren't quite the nerds, but we certainly weren't the popular people. We definitely weren't that. So I think we had our own group, and we were. I guess we were. You could call us a little nerdy. I'm sure we were a little nerdy into talking sports and all that, but we definitely had our group. We had a group of about 5 or 6 of us, and we kind of kept to ourselves. We did our thing, but we were just rip on each other and have a good time. We definitely weren't the popular group. I'll tell you that for sure.
Okay, so if it's the start of your junior year in high school, and I'm the guidance counselor, and I say to a young Johnny Doskow, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with your life, Johnny? What are you going to do with your life? It's your junior year in high school. What was your answer?
I said, I'm going to do something in sports. I'm going to do something in sports. I'm going to broadcast do something. I actually had a goal of being a sports anchor on the news when I was younger.
You'd be good at that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of struggle, man. I think I'd struggle. I think I'd make a ton of mistakes. Yeah, I don't know. I remember sending a TV tape when I was in. I made a tape in Oregon. My buddy's brother was the news or producer, director, or whatever in this station. I made a TV tape and I sent my stuff out to Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and all these different places. And I didn't really get any bites, so I went the other way. I went the radio route. But I had a dream being a ESPN Sports Center anchor when I was younger.
I think you'd be a really good game show host.
I wouldn't mind that. It's funny, Matty Vasgersian, I think Matty, he got his job in baseball, and he got it so early, but I think he had made a decision that if he hadn't got a job in baseball, he was looking into being game show host. I think he would have been brilliant at that. Yeah, I really do. But, I wouldn't have mind doing that. I think it'd be fun.
But instead, you chose to go into play-by-play broadcasting. Yes. First job out of college was what?
First job out of college was actually selling cable TV door to door. I was a door-to-door salesman. Yeah, a lot of doors in my face, slamming doors in my face. So,
what was your pitch?
I can't remember. We just talked about all the different channels you're going to get, and you're
going to get 30 channels because this is the early '90s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to get 30 channels.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just 4.
Can you imagine? Exactly.
You're going to get 30.
You believe that? Yeah.
That's unbelievable. What am I going to do with 30 channels?
Right. Then it was like $1 million, right? So, yeah, I loved it. It was in Glendora, California, and I sold cable door to door, and I was okay. I mean, but I wouldn't take no for an answer. But they slammed the door. I put my foot up. Like, hey,
really?
Not yet. Not done yet, But, yeah, so I don't know if you can get away with that now, but I was pretty hardcore.
Oh, I would have the money that I would pay to have you knock on my door and sell me cable TV right now.
Yeah, I was fairly chatty. Yeah, I wouldn't really let him up for air.
Okay. In November of 2006, Sacramento Magazine profiled you. Oh, my goodness, it's amazing. I found it last night.
Was it?
So
Were you sure it wasn't November 02 or November 01? Was it 06?
I thought it was 06. Dana Dunteman. How many times were you profiled by Sacramento Magazine?
Just once.
Just once?
Yeah, I think it was early because I remember that picture. That picture's from 01 or 02. That was early, yeah.
Okay. Well, according to Dana Dunteman in Sacramento Magazine, whatever year it was, You worked in Charles City, Iowa, and
Yes.
you broadcasted high school wrestling, girls softball, crab races,
Yes.
and hog market reports.
Yeah, that's factual. That's a factual statement. We did the hog report. Steers are down. Whatever. I knew nothing about it.
Wait, give me a hog market report.
I can't. I mean, the steers are up, hogs are down. I can't remember now.
Can you give me a how do you do a crab race?
Well, we at Milan Supper Club, they wanted us to do a crab race, so we sold it, and we did it. There were these different crabs. I mean, I made up everything. This crab from Georgia, this crab from northeastern Maine, and we actually the crabs were on the table, and I broadcasted the crab races live on the radio. It was a hit. My sister still has a tape of it, by the way.
No way.
Yes, I'll get you that tape.
Okay, what is more difficult, broadcasting a crab race or a game that is 16-2 when it's 40 degrees and there's 7 people in the stands? What is more difficult?
I've done so many 16-2 games, and obviously when you're in A-ball, there aren't a lot of people in the stands, but I think the crab race was all ad-lib and I was making everything up, so I think the crab race is probably easier. And the crab race didn't last that long. So
how long are we talking? Like 30 seconds?
Yeah, I think, it lasted about, the crabs weren't that fast. They were pretty slow, so it was more like 2.5 minutes.
Did you ever feel, so way before we got into this,
Yeah.
You hear stories about you recreated a broadcast from the studio and you had to make, you had to ad-lib and you had to make up stuff because you weren't sure, why has there not been a pitch? Did you feel in some ways that you're learning how to ad-lib and just talk when you're broadcasting a crab race?
Yes, it did help. All that stuff did. We did, listen, we had a guy, Jim Hebel, and I'm not sure what happened to Jim Hebel, but he was a classic. He was the guy that almost fired me for having 60 seconds of dead air when I went there as a DJ. I tried to be a DJ, and I had 60 seconds of dead air, and he said, "You're going to either do play-by-play sports and sales, or you're leaving, or I'm firing you." So,
why did you have 60 seconds of dead air?
Because I couldn't figure out the board. I could not. I know that's surprising.
But boards are difficult.
They are.
When you're first learning them, they're intimidating.
Yeah. He actually called the back line of the studio, and he was screaming at me, and I was in a panic. It's surprising, but I could not figure out the board for the life of me. I'm not even sure where I was going with that, but crab
races and working. What about wrestling? How much wrestling knowledge did you have when you were broadcasting high school
Not a
wrestling?
ton, and they don't even call it play-by-play. They call it hold-by-hold. That was what it was, a hold-by-hold, seriously.
Seriously?
But they had wrestling cheerleaders banging on the mats, but it was big. Iowa wrestling is huge in Iowa.
Yes.
So I didn't know a ton, but we got through it. I know where I was going with it. Our old boss said, I said, you'd broadcast a fireworks show if you could get paid on it. He goes, Doskow, I'd broadcast a funeral if we could get paid, So he would do anything, we'd sell anything. We did, as I said, the hog report, anything. But the crazy part is when we did sports back then, we did play-by-play high school sports. You never signed a contract. It was always just a handshake. It was like $20 for the girls' game, $20 for the boys' game, $35 for both. You get a little deal on that, but it's always a handshake. And I tell you, in all my time, I sold there for 2 years. I had one controversial issue, and I said I shook the guy's hand. He said I didn't for the deal, but everything else was just Midwest word of mouth. It was wonderful.
When you were growing up, did you listen or watch professional wrestling?
I did not.
You did not?
No.
Okay, so you weren't thinking like belly-to-belly suplex as you were describing high school wrestling?
No
one was going off the top rope?
No. It wasn't that. No, it's really, wrestling's huge out there, as you know, with Dan Gable and everything, with University of Iowa, the legend he was. But
if someone called you when we're done flapping and they said, Doski, I got a high school wrestling event in the off-season, can you do it for me?
100% I would do it. I would study up and do it. I would love to, yeah.
How'd you get your first job in minor league baseball?
My first job I was in Cresco, Iowa at the time, working for a group of radio stations with Jim Hebel and company. And then I landed a job in December of 92 with the Cedar Rapids Colonels. But here was the deal with that. They said, well, here's the deal. You're hired, but we've never done radio before. So you're going to be the first one to do radio. You have to sell $30,000 worth of advertising or we can't do it. So you have to agree that the season starts in early April. If you don't sell $30,000 worth by the time we get to April, you have to agree that you're done with the job. You're gone. Okay,
so let's put this in perspective. Well, this is 93.
Yeah.
$30,000 in 1993. When you were selling cable TV door to door, did you sell $30,000 worth of cable TV?
I'm sure I was there a while, so I'm sure. You know
But
what?
did you do it in 3 months?
No, not even close.
Okay.
No. The packages were a little bigger, though, so I figured I had a shot, and there were some big accounts out there, but it was not going well the first 2 months. And matter of fact, I think we had like 8,000 sold, and with like a month to go. So I was calling my friends back home and saying, I'm done. It was a good run, but I'm out. There's no way I can sell 22,000. And it was a miracle. It really was. We had some big accounts come in, and we barely got to like 31-2 so we got it, and I was able to do the games.
Do you feel like if you'd have gotten to say like 28.5, they would have said, all right, we're just not going to do Sundays, or that's close enough, right?
Maybe,
you know?
Maybe, Josh.
Or do you think it was just a test? Did he ever tell you, like, okay, even if you were going to broadcast the games no matter what, was that a test to put the pressure on you, or was it real?
I think it was real. Like, I think Jack Rader he was a non-BSer. He'd tell you straight up. I love that guy. And he said, this is the deal. You can take this job, but if you don't sell this much advertising, you're going to have to agree to go. And I agreed with it. So
you grew up in L.A., you're listening to Vince Scully, and did you have any idea that your ability to broadcast would be contingent on your ability to sell?
Not at all. I had no idea that sales was even a factor in minor league baseball, and that's why I tell young kids that want to get to A-ball, I say make sure you tell them you can sell first, and then the play-by-play, because they'll have hundreds of guys send their tapes to do play-by-play, but tell them you can sell. So, and when I was telling you before, like when I started, I had no idea because Jack said, why don't you put together in December, he goes, put together a proposal for us. Let me know what you think you deserve in pay and all that. And I had no idea. So I actually said to him, okay, if I sell this amount, pay me $100,000. If I sell this amount, pay me $150,000. This amount, $200,000, all the way up to $300,000. So I didn't hear from him for a while, and I'm like, okay. So then I gave him a call. He's like, oh, hey, John, yeah, we kind of pulled you off the table because we can't afford that. We can't afford.
You mean a minor league baseball team could not afford to pay a broadcaster $100,000?
$300,000, believe it. I know. That's how dumb I was. I had no idea. And he goes, so I go, no. I go, I'll work for anything. I had no idea. I had no idea okay. So, because he liked my Phil Rizzuto interview. He was a Yankee fan. I didn't even know this. He was a Yankee fan. I did a 10-minute interview with Phil Rizzuto.
Where'd you meet Phil Rizzuto?
I met him at the press box. Minnesota was playing the Yankees in Minneapolis, and I went up there for the game and got a press pass, and Phil was doing the play-by-play with the Scooter was doing the play-by-play with the Yankees. So I did a sit-down with him, and I sent that tape. Not even play-by-play. I sent that tape to Jack, who was a huge Yankee fan. He's like, oh, this is a good interview. So that's how I kind of got in with him. It was just lucky.
What was it like broadcasting baseball before there was an internet?
You just found a way. You did your research. You wrote down a bunch of stuff, and you just didn't even think about it. It's weird. Now I can't even imagine doing a game without a computer. But now, back then, without the internet, I didn't have a cell phone until '99. I didn't, and you never had a computer, so it was just, I don't know. You just did it. You did your research, and you talked to coaches as we do. You talked to coaches and managers and players, and you just find a way.
How long were you with the Cedar Rapids Colonels, right?
93, 4, and 5.
And then you had a decision between Wilmington, Delaware, and the High Desert Mavericks.
Yes.
Tell us about how you had to make this decision.
Well, I was engaged to be married, and we were in the middle of a breakup. So it was like there were so many factors involved here. I had a job offer in Wilmington, a job offer in High Desert in Victorville, or I could stay and try to figure out my situation. But the relationship was going downhill. So I was sitting there in my GM's office, Jack Rader, and the whole world's on my shoulders, and I'm just bawling my eyes out. And he just put his arm around me. I'll never forget it. And he said, look, any decision that you make here is the right decision. You can't make a wrong decision here. Whatever you decide, life's going to work out. So I settled down. I said, okay, that was nice. So I went to High Desert because I had friends and family out there. And, turned out to be a good decision.
How would your life be different if you had gone to Delaware? I know it's impossible to know.
It is. I don't know.
Who were they affiliated with back then?
They were affiliated with, I think, the Royals. The Royals. Life would have been completely different. Who knows where it would have gone from there? Who knows? I probably, there was a lot of computer, you get your own computer, and I was so intimidated by computers then, I probably would have been fired after a week. So I had to find something else. But so that, I don't know. And I just think friends and family back in L.A., I wanted to do that, be closer to friends and family after being in Iowa for 5 years. But, obviously the road you take in your life all the different places you go, it's going to be completely different on the decisions you make.
How old were you when you were with the High Desert Mavericks?
I was 30 and 31.
30 and 31. When was the first time that you played a prank on a player?
I would say, I got a lot of pranks played on me in 93, 4, and 5, just with Cedar Rapids. So I kind of
Like what? Like what would they do to you?
I don't know. They did the 3-man lift with me, where they get you, they act like you're going to lift something, and then they spray you with shaving cream and all that. So I got crushed on that just once, obviously. I can't, different pranks, but they get you pretty good. And when you're an A-ball and you're just starting out, you're pretty vulnerable. You have no idea. I was young, and I had no idea what was going on. But I think I started playing pranks probably, 97, 98. I was in High Desert a little bit, and then in Fresno, had a little fun.
So I think most people around the PCL or who have known you recall that the roving instructor prank is probably the one that's most well known. Explain, what's the roving instructor prank?
Well, you need other players involved. So you have another player say to a player that doesn't know.
Okay, so let's say I'm new to the team.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just joined the River Cats today. I just got called up from AA Richmond. I'm with the River Cats today.
So say Mike Gerber would come up to you and say, "Oh my goodness, we got this roving hitting guy in town. He's the worst. This guy's tough. Just bear with him. Nod your head. He doesn't really know what he's talking about, but you got to deal with it." So I have to have a player set it up. You're only as good as the player that acts, right there. So we'll get him. Like I've done this in a while, but what they'll do is get by the batting cage before BP, and I'll say, "Hey, I've been looking at your. First of all, Joey Setzer, nice to see you. I've been looking at your swing, and you're quick. You're quick." He's like, okay, just watch him. Okay, and you keep it going, and then till you can't handle it anymore. I'm just kidding. But those are some. We got D Brown. I remember D Brown came to the River Cats in 08, and Jeremy Brown and Lou Merlone set it up, and Jeremy Brown with his thick Southern accent. Oh, this Rover's the worst. He is the worst. Oh, just don't even listen to him. He's the worst. And Merlone's go, yeah, he's tough. So D Brown, big D Brown, the sweetest guy, the greatest human ever, right? There's no nicer person. And I said, D, I've been watching your swing a little bit. You're kind of, the way you're moving your hips, it just relax and just, all these things. And he's like, you notice that? I'm like, yes. He was so we had him going for like 15 minutes, and finally Lou couldn't take it. He's like, I can't take it. So we were rolling. But, those kinds of things, though, honestly, it's a long season, Josh, as you know. Brings everybody together. It's so much fun. It brings everybody together. I haven't done as many pranks as I did back in the day, but you see the team come together, loosens everybody up. It's fun to do.
Well, you look the part, too, because you've got the standard roving attire, right? You've got the dress pants, you got polo shirt, sunglasses. You look like a rover.
Right.
And you're tall enough. It's not like me. No one's going to believe that I'm a rover. Like, I'm a skinny dude, but you're a tall dude. You're fit, so you look the part. You can pull it off.
Thanks, man. They're always fun to do, man. It really is. It's a lot of fun.
Did I hear something about they turned the tables on you with Nomar?
They did. I tried to get Nomar. Nomar was on a rehab with Vegas, and he's Merlone's best friend. And I tried to get him on a swing or something. He goes, no. I know who you are. Got me. There are some fun ones, man. It's 140 games in 150 days, and Steve Klein is the best. Steve Klein, our pitching coach, he has pranks all the time. He's hilarious, and we go back and forth. Me and him together, it's been a dream. It's fun to work with him.
So a lot of different teams throughout the history of baseball, when they're in airports, they like to do the whole dollar on the ground, and it's tied to a string.
Yeah.
What's your most memorable dollar bill story?
We had one, I think it was 2003, because I remember Adam Melhuse, not to call Adam on this, but I think Adam Melhuse was, one of the leaders on our team. And we did one with, or they were doing, I wasn't even involved, but I watched them do it, and they had this dollar bill on the ground, and the dollar bill trick, you put the dollar bill on a string, and people go to pick it up, and then you pull it, and everybody laughs, whatever. Well, they did it to the wrong guy in 2003, and they did it to the co-pilot by accident.
The co-pilot of a plane
that was flying us.
Not just any plane.
No, he was flying us, and he refused. He goes, "We're not going to fly that team. We're just not going to." So Tony D, Francesco, our manager at the time, had to apologize to the pilots, and we had to have the whole team apologize to the pilots to get flown out. It was crazy. I mean, the guy did not have much of a sense of humor, that pilot.
Is that even allowed? Like probably on Southwest. I mean, what happens if Southwest Airlines CEO finds out that this co-pilot is was he chapped or was he grinded by it?
He was chapped, grinded, annoyed, everything. He was not having it.
I can't imagine that's even allowed. Like, you have to fly. It's your job to fly a plane. Who cares?
They did, and nobody knew that it was. Nobody knew that it was the pie. I mean, it was so innocent. It's such an innocent little trick, and it's just a fun little thing for these players. But he was not amused.
Have you ever had a bad week of describing AAA baseball where you feared that you were going to get sit down to AA?
Actually, the first game I did in AAA in Salt Lake in '98, I was working with John Carberry. I had the wrong batter for 7 batters in a row, and I realized it. I'm like, wow, maybe I can't call AAA. I went from A-ball. It's not the same game. Obviously, it's not the same game. So I don't know what happened, but I don't know if he wasn't listening at that particular time or what, but he didn't say anything, and I didn't say anything. But that was a time where I'm like, maybe I need to go get some work in AA before I get to AAA, work on my adjectives and work on my adverbs.
Have you ever told a player that you're about to get demoted?
Yeah, I've done that before. I did that before.
Do they believe you?
Come in all down. Well, players that don't know, and you come in and I've done it to coaches too, where I just said, yeah, it's not working. It's not working. They want me to get consistent reps at and just work on stuff in AA.
Like your adjectives, your adverbs. What are you working on?
Yeah,
what do you need to work on in AA?
You just come in with kind of teary eyes and say, yeah, I'm going down to.
What does it mean to streep out?
The streep out is when you when you do like a little acting session with somebody, and Meryl Streep obviously is the standard. And when you streep out, you become so involved in that character that you are the character. You know what I mean? Like like Sean Penn always said, when he acts, you don't see Sean Penn the whole time. He's that character. And Meryl Streep does it. Meryl Streep falls in love with all of her co-stars because she's Meryl Streep. So that's called streeping out. You streep out.
So have you ever streeped out so much, whether you're telling a player that you're getting demoted or a coach, that you cried? Have you ever cried because you got so streeped out in describing something that's going on?
I'd lie if I say I hadn't. Yeah, I've cried before.
Cried.
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, you get so involved in the thing, and you become that person that I've cried.
Could you really feel the pain of what that would be like to your career if you were sent down to AA?
Yeah, I think as we all do that. I think and I've never had any formal training in acting, but I think when you completely feel the part, it becomes you, and you can become overcome.
I think you'd be a good writer on Saturday Night Live.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever thought about like sketch comedy or writing or anything like that?
No, I haven't. But
now that I bring it up, do you feel like you're ready to switch careers?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Maybe some of the fans want me to, but no, I think I'm going to stick with this for a while.
Once a year, you wear a very, very, very bright orange suit.
Yes, I do.
The Dumb and Dumber suit.
Yes, I do.
Why?
Well, it was a deal I made with a friend of mine who actually used to pitch for the River Cats, named Eric Hillius, and we were. He invited me to a 40th birthday party of his wife, and he said, "Listen, I'm going to fly you down here. We're going to this 40th birthday party of my wife, and you're gonna wear. You have to trust me. You're going to wear a tux. You just have to trust me. I'm going to wear a tux too, but you're going to wear a tux. Okay?" I said, "Okay." So we go in there, and I see the tux because I'm going to go see if it fits, And I said, "No, I'm not wearing the tux, man." He's like, "You made a deal, we're going to wear this tux." So I went in, I put the tux on, the bright white shoes, Dumb and Dumber tux, orange with the white shoes, and he said, "I'll tell you what, if you agree to wear that tux one home game every year, the rest of your time you're with the River Cats, I will buy that tux for you and buy those shoes for you." And I said, "Okay." So I made a deal with Hilly. I wore it to the.
Did he wear the same
No, he didn't wear Dumb and Dumber. He wore like another
normal
tux.
suit.
Yeah, normal. It was a tux. It was pretty flashy, but it wasn't the blue, the Dumb and Dumber, right?
You're right.
So so every year, once a year, I was going to do it. I was going to kind of snib out of it last year. I'm like, I'm over this, And then right about a week before the season ended, Stephen Okert said to me, he goes, when you wearing that orange tux? And I'm like, oh. He's like, oh, you were going to not do it, huh? Wow, so that's a good example for your daughter. Say, welch in your bets. That's a really good example. So he guilted me into doing it. So I'm like, yeah, I got to do it. I made the deal.
What does it mean to be current?
Oh, my goodness. You don't miss anything, man. I made a bet with Daniel Emmons back in the spring of 2016. And there's a place in Scottsdale, there's a restaurant called Butters. And there was a fountain, and we were waiting about an hour because it's such great food. You wait an hour to eat. And me and Dan and Robert Barsani are sitting there, and there was these coins you flip into the
wishing well.
In the wishing well, thank you. And he said to me, "What will you give me?" Because there was this post. There was almost no way you could flip this coin into the wishing well. You had a post here, you had a post there. It would have to curl around. I'm like, he goes, "What will you give me if I flip this coin and it goes straight into the wishing well?" I go, "It's impossible. I'll give you $1 a month the rest of my life. Or no, I go, the rest of your life. $1 a month through the rest of Daniel Emmons' life." Yes, rest of his life. He made it. It was like, oh my, are you kidding me? He goes, "You have a chance to tie." I wasn't close. So anyway, so it's $1 a month. I pay him at the first of the month. I pay him $1, and if I'm not current, he won't talk to me. Like if it's the second of the month, why is he ignoring? Oh, I'm not current. Give him the $1, and I'm fine. The problem is, I'm older than him, and I will most likely die before him. And I told my daughter, like, if I die, you still have to pay him $1 a month for the rest of his life. She's like, really? So you made a bet and I have to pay him? I'm like, yeah. So you imagine that at the funeral? Like, you're going to be like, "I'm so sorry about your dad. Can I get that $1?
And how old is your daughter right now?
She's 13.
She's 13. So what are the, have you ever thought, what if I just give you like $33 right now, which would be like the next close to 3 years?
The point of the bet is $1 at the first of the month. That's the point of the bet.
What if you're on the road?
Well, then I pay him when I get back, or I pay him. He doesn't like. I can't pay him before. I've tried to pay the guy before I leave on the road. He won't do it. He just won't do it. So I have to do it. And so if we ever move on from different jobs, I'll have to send the $1. But that
would be a grind.
Yes, that would be a chap. Yeah, because it would be a grind. 'Cause it's a long. Yeah, it would be. It would be pretty grindy. Yeah,
$1 a month
for the rest of his life.
I give you respect though, because you're current with him right now, right?
I'm not a slow pay.
Right. Yeah, you're current with him right now, and you honor your bets.
Yep, I do. So yeah, so my next payment is June 1st. I'm getting ready to pay that $1 coming up. So
are there any other there's like a scout or a rover or like someone who might come up to you one day and be like, "You owe me that steak dinner"? Like, how many other potential payments might you or your daughter be on the hook
Well,
for?
We're obviously not. Obviously, we can't bet in baseball, so obviously monetarily, there wouldn't be bets. But there could be steak dinners out there. There possibly could be steak dinners out there that I owe that are up there. I'm sure I have. There have been certain bets in the past. I'm sure that I would owe on, but I'd like to keep those kind of private.
So we would kiffle that.
Yeah, we'll kiffle it.
We'll kiffle that.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have to kiffle the bobblenose?
No.
Bobblenose. Bobbleheads are a big part of sports.
Yep.
You had a bobble nose.
I did. I had bobblenose.
Whose idea was the bobblenose?
The bobblenose was a front office person back in the day. I'm not even sure exactly who it was, but there was someone in marketing. Might have been. I can't even remember. It was back in the day, though. It was back in 2011 or 2012, and someone came up with the idea, and I thought it was brilliant. Instead of doing a bobblehead, they thought they'd do a bobblenose to honor my nose, And it's funny, my daughter didn't really understand it. She thought they were making fun of me, which they were, but it's part of it, and she doesn't really understand it. She goes, "Why are they making fun of you with that nose?" I'm like, they're honoring the nose. They're honoring the nose. They did a bobble nose where the head doesn't bobble, the nose bobbles. So as mine, like I always think of my nose as like kind of like a doorstop, it's just like goes, it's just like, and that's what that nose did, So it's classic, and it looks.
I have one that's right behind us.
Yeah, and it looks a lot. It looks a lot like me. Looks a lot.
It's a really good one.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, the bobble nose. It's.
How long did it take in your life in all seriousness, before you became comfortable laughing at your own nose?
I think, I think my nose was probably even bigger in high school because my face was smaller. So your nose and ears never stopped growing, which wasn't the best news I got one day, right? You get that news and you're like, it's not great. But I've been comfortable, I think, since probably college, when I got probably my freshman, sophomore year, when guys were like, wow, you got a really, really big nose, And then you finally start to get comfortable. You're comfortable with it because that's what you got. You know what I mean?
Well, you're more than comfortable with it because you do this to me, so I know you do this to others where you'll call me, you'll FaceTime me, and you'll intentionally put your phone right next to the nose so that all I see is the nose.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I love that. So all you see is nose, and I'm just like talking to you, but you're seeing my nose. And my nose is a part of me, and I want you to see that, a big part of me.
Speaking of FaceTiming and videos, when was the first time that you recorded a message to somebody where it's a selfie video, and when was the first time you sent a video to somebody?
As soon as I understood how to do it, and as soon as I understood, wow, we send pictures and stuff, but then when I realized, wow, you can do videos, that's really cool, because then you can really tell the person how you're feeling. They see, your emotions, how you're saying it. I think video messages are so personable and so awesome. I love sending video messages to people I care about. It's the greatest.
It is. I can tell you, and there's numerous people here in Albuquerque who have received them, and it really does warm their heart. I'm not being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Like, it really does.
Yeah.
Per week, what would you say you average? How many videos do you send per week on average?
You know what? Not as many anymore. I've been bad.
Okay, at your peak.
At my peak?
Like, say, 3 years ago.
I don't know. I would say a bunch, man. I mean, I'd say
more than one a day.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
for sure.
5 a day?
Maybe 5 a day. Yeah, different people. Sure. I'd send it to. I mean, even when I'm on, I send videos to my wife all the time from the road just to say hello and everything. Yeah.
But not only do you send videos to people who are not in the same city as you, but you have sent me a video while you were sitting 3 feet away from me.
I have.
Like, you'll be where I'll never forget the first time I'm at Rayleigh Field and Johnny's in the booth right next to me. He's 5 feet away from me, but instead of walking out of his booth and walking the 12 steps into mine, instead he sends me a video message, and so I'm getting ready to go on the air, and I see something, I'm like, why is Johnny sending me a video? He's right next to me, but he just sent me a video.
Basically, I'm an idiot. I don't know. My buddy always says, you're a moron, and I am. I don't know. I have no idea why. I just do it.
That's awesome, though. Why do people wear name tags at work?
I think so you can say their name. I think you could say their name. And I do that all the time. Where I am, if I see someone name tag, I'm going to say their name. And if I
that's the point of wearing a name tag.
If I see Robert, I say Bobby. If I see Elizabeth, I say Betsy. If I see, I'll always, whatever it is, I'll always,
Betsy.
Yeah, I'll always, because Betsy's a nickname for Elizabeth. So whatever it is, I'll always do the nickname. And it throws them off sometimes. And I like testing the human spirit. I like to see people's reaction. Even if I'm by myself and I'm at a store that has it, like a Best Buy or something, I see Bill, William, what's going on? And they're always kind of thrown a little bit for a loop. And my daughter's starting to get into that too. Like at first she's tried to date with me and she goes, hi, Jeremy, and she laughed and ran away. But now she's like more comfortable doing it. So I'm glad I'm
Have you ever had a job where you were wearing a name tag?
You know what? When I worked at Kinney Shoes back in the day,
You worked at Kinney Shoes?
I did back in the day. That's when I first started.
Like
selling.
in high school or college?
Yeah, it was right outside of after my first summer after college.
Kinney Shoes.
First summer after high school. Kinney Shoes. I sold shoes. Remember Kinney Shoes?
I do remember Kinney Shoes.
Yeah.
I got some cleats from Kinney Shoes so I could play Little League Baseball in Pleasanton.
Yeah, that was one of the first jobs I had out of high school. It was great.
Did anyone ever do the name tag thing to you?
No, they never did. I just love it. I love it. I didn't get it from Seinfeld. I was doing it way before they had the Seinfeld episode on it.
When did you become Johnny? When were you John?
You know what? Good question. When I was in '98, I was John all the way up until '98. I was 31 years old.
So when you were doing play-by-play of wrestling and crab races,
Yep.
you were John. You were John Doskow.
Yeah, and when I was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, for the Cedar Rapids Colonels, I was John. And then when I was in High Desert, I was John. Then when I got to Fresno in '98, I got the job at AAA. At first, I got the 2 job, and then the number 1 guy, Paul Swearingen, said he had too much other stuff going on, so I got the number 1 job in Fresno. And John Carbray, who was my boss at the time, said, look, Johnny Doskow has a way better ring to it. You're going to be Johnny Doskow. You got this job. You're going to be, basically told me, you're going to be Johnny Doskow. And John Doskow doesn't work. So I started becoming Johnny Doskow, and I loved it. Now I'm Johnny on everything.
Now you're Johnny D.
Yeah, it's weird.
Were you ever John D?
No, never John D. The weird part about it, like normally when you're a kid, you have the Johnny, little Johnny, and everything. I did the opposite way. I was 32 or 31, Johnny.
Who still calls you John?
Stephen Vogt calls me John. Zach Bash calls me John.
Parents?
Parents still call me John. Yep. No, my mom actually started calling me Johnny. My dad calls me John.
What did your parents think when suddenly you're now Johnny?
They just kind of, sure, they like this guy's. I don't know. They probably put their hands up. We give up, We give up. Yeah. I like John. Do you think Johnny has a better ring?
It's way better ring.
Yeah, it's not even close, right?
I can't fathom what it would be like to call you John.
Yeah.
Unless I'm just making fun of you.
Right. Way too formal, right?
John.
Yeah.
Like, what's another version of John or Johnny? Jonathan?
Yeah. Jonathan?
Jonathan Doskow here. Welcome to Rayleigh Field.
Like when someone says John, I think they're mad at me. Like, John. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit.
Okay. You remember watching Roy Firestone? What do they call it? Up Close?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to do a little Roy Firestone.
Okay.
I'm going to give you either the name of a player or the name of a city, and you're going to tell me what comes to mind.
Okay.
And is there a sign in case you have to, kiffle it? Are you going to give me, a sign or whatever?
Yeah, I'll give you the kiffle sign.
Okay, What is the kiffle sign? He just flipped his nose.
Yeah.
Tucson, Arizona.
Good. I have to go one word, or can I just...
No.
Okay.
Just whatever. Just tell me a story. Tell me what comes to mind. However many words. If you want, it can be a million.
Did not like doing games there because you're so far removed, but loved the city and great sushi there in an upset. There was great sushi.
That is an upset.
Yeah.
That's like a 15-seed upsetting a number 2 seed upset.
No doubt. Absolutely. I mean, that's Villanova, Georgetown. That's crazy. Yeah, that is a huge upset. But it was great sushi in Tucson. I also remember in Tucson, we were always in hotels that had suites. Everybody had a suite.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it was nice. I loved going to Tucson. Just the games, you were so far removed. The crowds were light. I think I never got a chance to experience High Corbett, which I think I would have enjoyed it better. But Tucson Electric Park, it just wasn't my favorite place to broadcast from.
Chris Spire,
pull up. We worked out together, and he's
a workout maniac,
workout machine. And when we went to work out together, he would do 25, 30 pull-ups, and he goes, "Make sure do your pull-up."
Singular.
Do your pull-up. Yeah, get it done.
Where were you with Chris?
What?
Where? What city? Where?
We were High Desert.
Was it High Desert?
He was the manager in '97. We had that awesome team when the Arizona Diamondbacks didn't have a AA or AAA team, so we were loaded. We crushed.
Did you have Travis Lee on that team?
Yes.
I went to school with Travis Lee. That's when he was the man.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody thought he was going to be a superstar. And we had Travis Lee, we had Jason Goligoski, Mike Stoner, Stanton Cameron, we had Donnie Peters, we had Zancanero, we had Dave Tuttle. We had our team was loaded for a single A team. We were absolutely loaded. Then we went to playoffs, swept everybody, and the '97 team went all. But I enjoyed that year with Chris Spire so much. He was so funny. Really enjoyed him.
Ricky Rod.
He just
first explain. Ricky Rod, he's been the pitching coach for the Ace AAA affiliate forever.
Yeah, forever. He has. He went and did a couple of years in the big leagues and a couple of years, I think, in Stockton. But for the most part, he's been the Ace AAA pitching coach.
At Sacramento, at Nashville, and now at Las Vegas.
I just think Ricky Rod, cool. He's so cool. He's so mellow, chill, and
another dude who's jacked. Has there ever been a pitching coach more jacked than Rick Rodriguez?
He's ripped. Guy is jacked. Yeah, for sure. And he's just. I had so many inside jokes with him. I just love that guy. Yeah, he's great.
Was there something about a plane with him, or is that somebody else?
Oh, yes.
May 7th, 2007? What happened on May 7th, 2007?
May 7th, 2007 was a flight. We were going Denver to Omaha because we connecting flight to Omaha, and it was basically 8 minutes of terror. The flight attendant, or the captain said, "Ladies and gentlemen," captain speaking, we're going to have 8 minutes, and it's going to be really, really rough. Flight attendants, take your seats immediately. And the way he said it was eerie. It wasn't. He said it so factually. It wasn't like, "Oh, we could hit some bumps." It's like, brace yourself. Like, and so we were okay. Here we go. So Brian McCarm, I was in the aisle. I had nobody in the middle seat, and he was on. Brian McCarm was on the window, and we started going up and down a little bit, and it got to a point where we were going so far down so fast that you hear, whoa, but it wasn't just normal turbulence. And I saw the flight attendants' eyes, and they were just so wide. They were sprinting to get to their seats, and it was just going down. I mean, every single time I was told Brian, I said, "See you, Bob. It was a great run." I said, "That was a great run." We had it, and I saw Rick Rod. Rick Rod said he grabbed the phone. At that time there were phones in the back of the seats. He was calling his wife to say goodbye. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, it was awful. It was 8 minutes of terror. It was.
Did anyone throw up?
A lot of people threw up.
Really?
The mask came down a little.
Is that the closest to death you think you've been, realistically?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, who knows? The pilots might say they had it the whole time, but it was. I don't know, man. It was. Everybody was pretty shaken up when they got off that plane. Walt Horn, athletic trainer at the time, said in 30 years of flying, he's never experienced anything like that. So it was pretty bad.
You know, one of the things that I have like the biggest nightmare about is if something like that happens. Like, let's say that the person next to me throws up.
Yeah.
It's going to make me throw up. Like the smell, or like if it happens to me, like that little bag. It's not going to catch it all.
Yeah.
And if so, then what do I do with this bag, right? And
that's your biggest fear.
Well, that's my biggest airplane-related fear.
Yeah.
I actually don't fear dying in the plane.
Yeah.
I fear that everyone on the plane starts vomiting, and that induces more vomiting. Like the story from the pie eating from the movie from the '80s movie. Help me out here. The song "Stand by Me."
Okay.
Remember the story?
Yeah, yeah.
Like everyone just starts puking. Yeah. That's my fear on a plane.
Really?
Is that everyone starts puking.
And then you will automatically puke.
Yes.
Right.
Like if we die, like whatever. Like it was a good run. Like
I
you
just
said.
don't want to puke. But yeah, no, it was. I'm telling you, man. I mean, people hear it, they say, "Oh yeah, you had a little turbulence." No, it was not a little turbulence. It was unbelievable. And so I think anybody who flies a lot has that kind of experience. But that was unique in that to watch the flight attendants and watch their eyes that were 3 inches wide and just see everybody freaking out and just thinking. I was telling Brian McCarn every time I said, "Listen, it was a heck of a run. You know, it was a great run." But see you later. Take care.
Well, you're still running. All right, Let's find a happier topic. What about? I'm just going to throw some random names from the Oakland A's teams of the early 2000s that were at AAA Sacramento.
All right.
Ron Flores.
Left-hander. I think maybe the most appearances I think most appearances in River Cats history. He is now a minister in Las Vegas.
No way.
Yes, he's a minister in Las Vegas for this church, and he's just a great guy. I remember him so well. Born August 9th, 1979.
You remember that?
Yes.
How do you remember that?
I don't know. Some of these things are really. I'm a little bit like Doug Greenwald, who's so brilliant with birthdays. I'm a little bit like him, just remembering those birthdays. We go back and forth on that.
So I remember when Ron was with AAA, he got called up briefly a couple of times to the major leagues, and that's when I was covering the A's, Field and Tribune. And I remember saying to like Ron, like, "Hey, you know, is there a guy like at AAA every year who like as soon as someone gets hurt in the major leagues, and that means that someone's going to be called up?" And this was before Twitter. I said, you know, is there somebody like that on every team? You know, I'm just like BSing with him. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, for sure." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, that's me." He's like, "Yeah, that's me." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm the first one to know about every injury." And I'm like, "Hey, you're going up." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, Konsei just got hurt, you know. Hudson pulled an oblique, you know. Like growing up.
That's awesome. He was classic, man. He had so many great one-liners. Yeah, I remember. I miss Ron. Bakersfield,
California.
You know what? It's going to sound crazy. It's going to sound nuts, but besides the sun delays that we had, remember games would start at. We don't know. You can't tell the audience you can't tell the radio audience when the game's going to start because it depends on the sun, right? They built it backwards, but it's another place that I was shocked that there was good sushi, and there was.
Another upset.
That's beyond Villanova, Georgetown, Baker. You know, so yeah, I was good sushi there. But I always enjoyed going to Bakersfield.
That's Santa Clara over Arizona.
That is. Nice analogy there. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was. I enjoyed going to Bakersfield, though. Bakersfield wasn't overnight. You know, the commuters, I wasn't a big. You know, we commuted to Rancho. We were in High Desert. We commuted to
San Bernardino,
Lancaster, San Bernardino. So some of the Northern Cal, Central Cal were fun to go to.
Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. I think a Mother's Bistro, the best breakfast place. And I know some people are going to listen and say, "Oh, it's overrated." No, it's not overrated. It's the best breakfast place. I still believe that. This side of the Mississippi, and so every time Portland was so much fun too, because we had, I love doing games there. There were a lot of 3-2 games, a lot of 4-3 games, a lot of 2-1 games, pitcher friendly. You can walk everywhere there. You take the train down, whatever you wanted to do. It just Portland was an awesome city. I wish it was still in the Coast League. I just love going there. Great places to eat. But Mother's, obviously, going to Mother's for breakfast, and Lou Merlone can attest to that. It's the greatest. Sometimes I go there 3 or 4 breakfasts.
Really?
Yeah.
You would go to the same place every day?
Yep, because it's Mother's. Yeah.
Okay, I had Lou Merlone down to ask you about. So I need another Lou Merlone story that has nothing to do with Portland, Oregon. We already got 2 Lou Merlone references because we got the Nomar story and Portland, Oregon.
That's right.
You got to have a third one.
Well, I think I messed with Lou for like a 20 minutes on a plane once, or it may have been a half hour, maybe a little longer, when I just having fun with there was this guy who was pretty chatty, guy in the middle seat. Lou was on the window, I was on the aisle, and he was chatty about himself for a long time. And then he said, "What do you guys do?" And I just thought I'd mix it up, and I said, "We're in microchips." Microchips. I have no idea what that means. And I go, "And he's the president." And I pointed right at Lou. So this guy was peppering Lou with questions. Peppering. And Lou's like, yeah. Like looking at me like, "I'm going to kill you." But yeah, so that was an adventure. We finally told him at the end we're kidding or whatever, but it was he was, at the time, Lou was not pleased with me.
How long do you think, if the tables had been reversed, you could have continued to streep out about being the president of a microchips company?
The entire time.
You could keep going.
Yeah, the entire time. I think I could do that. Yeah. That was 08 too. I remember that was 07. We had Lou in 07. That was fun. I'll never forget that.
Omaha, Nebraska, not Papillion, Nebraska, but Omaha, Nebraska.
Rosenblatt. Well, anytime, Mark Nasser is one of my favorite people in the world. So anytime you get a chance to go to Omaha and hang out with him, it's awesome. But Omaha, Nebraska, man, I just like doing games at Rosenblatt and just love the places to eat there and going downtown. And I love Omaha. Big fan of Omaha.
Have you noticed a trend with all the cities that I've mentioned yet? There has been a theme. I said Portland, Bakersfield, Tucson, Omaha.
Gosh, man, I'm slow. What do you got?
They don't have teams anymore.
Oh, it kills you too. Well, Omaha, Papillion. Oh, yeah.
That's why,
Rosenblatt.
that's why I said Omaha, not Papillion.
I got you. Yeah.
That was the theme, is that cities that no longer have minor league baseball.
Doesn't it blow you away? I mean, we talked about today that Tim Haggerty, our good friend Hags, is 3 different cities with the same
Portland,
parent club. Yep.
Portland to Tucson to El Paso.
Incredible.
All with the Padres affiliate. Yep. And he did Double-A, the Padres Double-A team.
Yeah. He's a beast.
Adam Pyatt.
Pyatt was so... Pyatt, they said, could have been on the phone book in Midland. He was so legendary there. He was such a legend there.
Really?
They said you put him on the phone book. He was an absolute beast there. And so I only had Pyatt for a little while. I had him in 01 and a little bit in 02. But he was up-and-coming player. Yeah, he just decided to quit all of a sudden. He just decided to stop playing, I think, when he was young. He was like 26 years old. But Pyatt was a good dude. I'm trying to think if I have any Adam Pyatt stories, but he was always, one thing I like about Adam Pyatt is you could always talk about the history of the game, and he was always interested in the history of baseball. He was always fun to talk to about baseball because it wasn't just surface stuff. You got deep with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I respect that. All right. I don't know if you're going to follow why I bring up this name, but we're about to find out. Tabitha Soren.
Tabitha Soren is the wife of Mr. Lewis, who wrote Moneyball, right?
Correct.
And she, you know more about her than I do, but she was on MTV for a while, right?
Yeah, she was the big news correspondent.
Yeah.
Yeah, choose or lose. They had like Bill Clinton went on and did like a forum with like college students. And she moderated it. And then she would go into Sacramento and do and she became like this really successful photographer.
Yeah.
And so didn't she follow around like all the Moneyball guys?
I think she did.
This is my jumping off point in case you haven't figured it out to talk about Moneyball.
Yeah, and it's we had all those guys. We had Jeremy Brown and all those guys, it was who was the kid that the A's got from Detroit? Who was that? Jeremy Bonderman.
Jeremy Bonderman.
Yeah, Bonderman. He was never an A, right? It was the one that got away or something. I don't know why I thought
he's the one that they wanted to draft, but. No, they did draft him, and like a chair got thrown because they were mad, and then he got traded like the first day that they could trade him. Like a year later, he got traded, and then we became pretty successful with the Tigers.
Yeah, he did. I don't know why that name came up, but I remember. That was an interesting time, the Moneyball time. It was great.
What else? Tell me more about what made that interesting. Just the book and those guys, and now they're coming up through the minor leagues and they're all around you on those teams.
Was. Michael Lewis was around, but I just I don't know. The A's A's in the early 2000s. That was a blast covering those guys. Burnsy and all those guys.
I mean, you went to the playoffs every year.
Every year. We went to the playoffs from 2001, 01, 03, 04, 05, 07, 08, 09, 2010. I think it was a period of like 9 out of 10 years went to the playoffs. It was a great run, and won the PCL championship in 03, 04, 07, 08, and the AAA championship 07, 08. So that was a pretty good run. Really good run.
I mean, you had Bobby Crosby, you had Nick Swisher, you had
Dan Johnson,
Graham Kuntz.
Absolutely. Some legends. I mean, Jose Ortiz before I got there in 2000. Burns, obviously, some legendary. That team in 2000 was incredible. Before I got there, that was a really good team, and our 01 team was really good. It's funny, the 03 team was loaded with David McCarty and Adam Melhuse and McMillan and all those guys. But the 04 team, I think Tony did a good job with that team. I didn't think we were favored to win it, and we won the whole thing in 04 as well.
So your first year in Sacramento was 01.
Yes,
and that was the second year of the River Cats,
yes.
Right? Okay, so at that time. Holy cow, the attendance. You guys were averaging, like 10,000, 11,000 a game?
Packed, especially weekends, packed every day, So, you got to give them credit. They're still packing them in on the weekends especially. So, you got to, I mean, it's easy when you first get to a town that's hungry for it, the first 3 or 4 years, the honeymoon period, but it's how the ticket people do, how they sell it after that is does it through the test of time, are you able to contain it? Are you able to maintain it? And that's been pretty good for the River Cats through the years.
Ken Priest,
he got me my only time in the big leagues. He hired me to do 34 major league games with the A's back in 2000.
How did he tell you?
Oh, he was funny. I knew something was up because I was talking to Ken Korak, and he was acting a little strange on the bench and kind of smiling at me. So I'm like, something's going on here. And then Priest's like, we need to set up a time where we can talk. So, all right. So I go, now it's fine. He's like, okay. So I followed him into the A's spring training clubhouse, and we were actually in Bob Melvin's office at the time. Bob Melvin was on the field, and it was me and Ken Priest, and then Billy Bean walked in for a little bit. And I can't remember if Billy was there right after he told me or before he told me, or I think it was after he told me. But when Priest told me that I was going to do some games with Korak out with knee replacement, I was like stunned. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then when he said, okay, we got to the schedule, he's like, okay, you're definitely going to do the Seattle game. You're going to do the Bay Bridge series in Seattle, and I definitely want you for Boston, Tampa, and Baltimore. As soon as he said Boston, I started bawling.
Really?
Just breaking into tears. I was trying to contain myself because thinking about Fenway Park and broadcasting big league baseball. So I finally got it together. I think Billy had come in that time, and he's like, congratulations, everything. But, I'll never forget that. I was in Bob Melvin's office when Priest told me I was doing those games.
One of the things that you and I and anyone who's a AAA is, like the standard interview is someone gets called up to the major leagues for the first time, and then however long, whether it's 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever, and they come back down and you do like the pregame interview.
Yeah.
And you ask them to, okay, take us through that day. Where were you and who told you and who'd you call first and all that kind of stuff. And now that happens to you.
Yeah.
Who did you call?
I'm sorry. You're like, are you going to answer the question?
You're like, yes, factual statement. That is true. I've done that.
Sorry.
I thought I was having a really good moment there.
This is good, though, because people see that happen sometimes.
Who'd you call first?
I called, I think I called my brother. First. I think I'll call my brother and my sister, and then I think I called my folks and told them what was going on. Yeah. My brother was my first call, though. Yeah.
Was there anybody who said something to you, or just any comment that somebody made that stands out all these years later about just what that moment meant and how proud they were of you, or how surprised they were, or just like whatever?
I think my dad, who's not one to give a ton of compliments, said to me, he said, remember, I always know what's going on in the game when you're calling it. And that meant the world to me. You know what I mean? That meant the world to me. Like, look, you can do this.
You're not straying too far away.
No.
Right? You're sticking to the game.
Exactly. Sticking to the game, that meant a lot. And just, the A's were great. I mean, I can't say enough. I mean, obviously, Vince Cotroneo, he couldn't have been nicer to me. He introduced me to everybody. He was so wonderful. I made so many contacts, met so many people because of Vince. Vince introduced me to everybody. Hey, this Johnny's getting a chance here, and he could not have been a better human being with the way he was with me. It was pretty awesome.
So when Ken Priest points at the schedule and says Boston, and that's when you lose it. Now, when you actually got to Boston, what was that like?
Oh my, incredible! I think I know that Mickey and some of the other people were kind of giving me a hard time because the hotel was like about a 30-minute walk to Fenway, and I'm like, I'm walking. I don't care. I'm just going to find a way. I'm getting there. I'm on foot. I am not going to take the bus over there. I'm going to absorb everything. This may be my only chance in the big leagues. I'm going to enjoy Fenway, and I'm going to embrace walking there and experiencing Boston and being a part of it. So it was pretty awesome. And then walking in there, you're just blown away. And then to call a game there is really cool. But it was a pretty good experience. It was surreal.
Did you flash back to calling crab races while you were at any point in your major league?
No,
time?
I'll tell you another breakdown I had. I'll tell you about. Get back to Fenway, but just while I'm on the subject of breaking down, I remember going to Seattle and going to the Fairmont. That's when I had my experience of all the hotels I've stayed in and all the crab races, all the stuff I've called, all the hog reports and everything I called when I started my career making $900 a month. And I was in the Fairmont. And I became overwhelmed there because I thought, wow, I'm in the Fairmont Hotel after all the work I put in, and it's paid off, and I get to call Big League Baseball. And that's when I broke down too. So you're in a lot about my breakdowns here, but yeah. So but Fenway was really unique, just because to get to call the game there, and Vince told me, he's like, hey, you better watch BP from the booth because it's strange, the angle. Baseballs do different things. They look like they're in a little bit further here than they are, and he kind of trained me, kind of helped me to. When you're doing play-by-play, it's different at Fenway because the monster kind of puts perspective off a little bit. So he really helped me with that. And I can't say now, Vince really helped me through that time. It was fun.
Well, while we're on the subject of you crying,
here we go.
First time that your daughter performed the national anthem at Raley Field.
She was 9, and I was a mess. As a matter of fact, every time I even talk about it, I feel the tears coming up. But yeah, that was it was incredible.
Let's set the stage. How long was she practicing the national anthem before she actually got out there? How many years? I
think I think for months and months before she got out there. I think, and it's interesting now because she does it now, and now she's a little bit better. But I think at 9 it's easier than when you're 12. At 9 you don't really understand the enormity of it, the crowd and everything, and you go out there and you just do it, and you're not that nervous. But when she got to be 11 or 12, you kind of are a little more worried about what people think, right, at that age. So she got a little more nervous. And now she's finally settling in, and she can control her nerves when she goes out there and does it. But first time she did it, Josh, I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. She's done a lot now, so I'm moved.
Was it really, was it hard to broadcast the top of the first after that?
I didn't even talk. I aired the anthem, and there was probably, after she was done, probably about 30 seconds of dead air while I got it together. I was just trying to just breathe, and it was just really, really cool experience because I was so proud of her. You're worried for you have all these worries, but you're also so proud of her. And the thing is about when you're 9, you get a break from the fans. The fans are pretty right.
It's just cute that a kid's trying,
right? And even Emmy said it when she did this year at 13. She's like, you know what? It's not cute anymore. I have to do well. It's like it was cute when I was 9. It's not cute now. Now I have to perform. I have to do well. So she even grasps that.
What was it like when she did it with Tim Flannery?
Really cool, really cool. And Tim, Tim was so great with her, and he's so great musically that it worked really well. It was really, their voices worked really well together, And that was pretty cool. You know, it's also a good experience. Like, she had a couple of tough ones, too. You know, she did one at Raleigh Field where she didn't do that great. And I thought that was good, too. You know, that's always a good lesson. And you can't, in life, you're going to have screw-ups.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that was good for her to have that. And she's going to have more of those. I said, listen, that's going to happen again. It's okay, you know. And she had missed, like, a note or something. It's not the end of the world. No one remembers that. But I think those are good, too. So I love, you know, seeing my daughter perform in Nashville was really cool because she did the anthem with her guitar in Nashville. And that was such a thrill for her because she's always dreamed of, you know, being in Nashville and playing. And, you know, she loves music so much to see the way and Jeff Hem was so great and those guys. So it was really cool to see her do that in Nashville, Tennessee.
I don't know if this is supposed to be kiffled or not, but Chase Darno.
Yeah.
Worked with her and did like a beautiful 5-minute video thing.
Oh, incredible! Chase Darno is so good with her, and he's been so helpful. And also Barry Zito. Like I sent her videos to Zito, and when she performed, she did like 20, 25 songs at this Pete's Pasta and Grill in a summer show I didn't go to.
Wait. So the River Cats are playing at Nashville, and she comes and she's just performing.
She just did the anthem. No, this is different.
Okay.
She did something in Folsom, doing a performance. I sent that to Zito, and Zito was like, "Wow, that's that." You know, it was good to get his feedback, like positive and things she can work on too. So that was cool. He's been great. But Chase Darno, man, he went out of his way to. He came over to the house. He did a 5-minute video with her, working with her, and just he's so good with camera presence and things like that. He's
his editing
genius.
stuff is unbelievable.
Oh, he's a genius with his stuff. He really is. He's so musically inclined and so good with people. He's one of the most creative people I've met in baseball. He's incredible. So he really helped out. He really helped out Emmy a lot. I'm grateful for that.
You want to talk about mess ups?
Sure.
Yeah, because it's part of it, right?
Of course.
I know that I'll always remember my number one. It was game 2 of a doubleheader. I always blame it on the doubleheader. That's it was game 2 of a doubleheader.
Early wake up.
I was really tired.
Yeah.
You know, I had to fill all the time in between the games of the doubleheader, trying to write my lineups real fast, trying to eat real fast. And we're right here at Isotopes Park. And it's top of the first inning. And I say, here's the pitch, and it's fouled off out of play. Actually, no, that was a home run.
That's the worst.
And so, on the post-game show, on the Southwest Copy Systems post-game show, the engineer's like, hey, I know that you messed this call up. Do you still want to use it? And I was like, yeah, we have to, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to do, the good call of the game, and so normally it's the Miller Lite good call of the game.
Right.
And instead I turned it into the Miller Lite worst call ever.
Nice.
And we did it, right? And it was like, there you go. And that was the Miller Lite worst call ever by me.
That's great.
I thought it was a foul ball. Nope, it was a home run.
That's the greatest.
Now, here's the thing. I watched the replay later. It's not like it was just barely fair. Like it was in the bullpen. Like I thought it was over the third base dugout, and I just put my head down. I made a little notation. Anyways, today's starting pitcher is 6'2", 200. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was a home run.
Folks, wait a minute. Yeah,
it's going to happen, man. You do 140 games, 9 innings, you work solo, it's going to happen.
It is going to happen. And I had one, it's funny, in Appleton, Wisconsin in 93, one of my first road games I did, I've never seen an outfielder just stand there sarcastically when the ball's out by 150 feet, or whatever, 100 feet out. And so I saw the fly ball. I said, fly ball to left, playable, because he was just standing there, and it was way out of here. And I said, well, wait a minute. It's actually a home run. At
least you got it right.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I don't know. I butchered. We've all butchered so many calls. But I had a play a couple years ago on a double play where I fumbled up 7. It's a ground ball. It was kind of like that. And I said that was the worst call in baseball history. It really was. It was terrible. I'll never forget it. I had him play. I think I had him play it on the highlights just because I wanted to hear it again.
You have to own it.
You do.
But that's part of. Okay, I got a big nose. I'm owning my nose.
Yes.
I messed up this call. I'm owning this call.
Right.
It's part of owning your life.
It is, and I think it makes you human too. I think people actually like it when you make a mistake and own up to it. The fans that listen and they're loyal listeners, I think they love it. They know they've been with me for this is 19 years in Sacramento. So they've heard a lot of my screw ups and they stick with you. It's obviously, I'm not the greatest announcer in the world, but for the fans that listen every day, they're used to me. That's who they have. They're stuck with me. They have me, and so it's. I think they like that if you make a mistake and you own it. I think that endears them to you. You know?
But I don't want to just focus on mistakes, though. Like 19 years, like there's people who, like growing up, you listen to Vinny. Like there's people in Sacramento that have grown up listening to you.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
it's crazy to think, like, I remember it really hit me with Ryan Sweeney. Ryan Sweeney grew up in Cedar Rapids, and he told me that he listened to me when he was 8 or 9 years old.
Really?
Yes, and that was really, really cool. And also a couple I married, Pete and Elise Iliff, Pete listened to me when he was like 7 or 8, So
really?
To hear that is like really cool to think that here I am still calling games, and now it's passed along generation to generation. The longer you're with a team, the more that's passed along, right? So you guys that listen to you at 6 are now have families of their own, right?
Right.
Some of them. So
compare prepping for a baseball broadcast and prepping to be the official of a wedding. What's the proper
officiant? It's a different prep, because baseball there's all this information and you want to figure out what you want to talk about and everything, whereas it's more scripted. A wedding's more scripted, but you also want to have some spontaneity with the wedding as well. So it's a different kind of prep. They're both. I mean, the wedding thing's I think more nerve-wracking because it's their day. Although I don't want to underestimate how important a broadcast is, but you have 140 of them, and you're going to screw up and have it. But I don't know. I always think with the wedding, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do well because it's their day, and you don't want to have a screw up there, so it's intense. It's pretty intense when you're about to do a wedding, but I try not to. I want to be loose too, so it's a different kind of prep. I want to be ready. I have my basic script I go with, but I also, if they want, more religion in it or no religion or whatever, you kind of make the adjustment according to them.
What's the most nervous you've ever been for a public speaking, whether it's a broadcast or a wedding or you're at an auction or you're at a banquet?
The most nervous I've ever been was Wednesday, January 24th, 2001. And the reason I say that, it was because I was doing I was emceeing a Breakfast of Champions banquet with Dusty Baker and Jerry Manuel.
Ooh.
And I didn't sleep the night before because I was so nervous. And I absolutely melted down. It was the worst public speaking. I tell this to kids when they talk about public speaking, when I'm talking to kids about the business. I said, no matter what you do, always know that you can never screw up worse than I did on January 24th,
What'd you do wrong?
I forgot to introduce our owners. I tried to tell jokes when I met Dusty Baker. I got crickets from I couldn't have been worse. I could not have been. It was so bad that the late owner, Art Savage, who I loved, he said to me, he said, hey, good job. And I said, Art, thanks, you're lying. It was not a good job, and that's okay. But he was still encouraging. But it was 200 season ticket holders, and I had crickets on everything I said. I would say, I remember saying, hey, don't forget to get your season tickets. That was in my head, and everybody was just like looking at me like, what is wrong with this guy? Like it was my first experience with the Sacramento people. Mm-hmm. It was my first talk, and my heart was pounding. The mic was shaking. And the papers were shaking. It was embarrassing.
What did you learn from that?
Get your rest, be prepared, and just I think I got a little less nervous after that public speaking, but I still was pretty nervous. I'm better now, public speaking, but for a while there I really struggled, even because we're on the radio, people don't see us. It's different.
It's totally different.
Yeah, so when you have a public speaking event like that, even my daughter knows. She goes, well, at least it wasn't worse than 124.01, right? Like she knows that.
Your own daughter still mocks you?
Yeah, of course she does. She's 13. She always mocks me. Yeah, but 124.01. I'll never forget it. It was. I think I might have told Dusty about it a couple years ago. I said, I don't know if you remember this. I don't think he remembered, but
did he?
No.
Okay, well, that's good.
They don't. Yeah, but it was.
He's been to a million banquets.
Yeah, he has.
Someone was worse than you.
But no, no. I don't. It was miserable. I'll never forget it. It was the worst.
Okay, I don't want to end it on that. Like, give me like a positive thing. Give me a really good wedding where you just felt like, I just felt the love and the joy, and you felt like, okay, I didn't mess up their day. That I'm.
You know what wedding I really enjoyed doing? I did Chris Heston's wedding, and I really enjoyed that in Florida. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of love there. I mean, all the weddings are a lot of love. I enjoyed also. Dana and Corey Dolish's wedding in Portland. That wedding was great too. But all of them are different. All of them. It sounds cliche to say all of them are good in their own right. They really are, because it's every union is different, right?
Yeah.
So every marriage is different. So everything had its positives. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna about everything. I've only had one divorce, though. I've had 11 weddings. I'm 10 for 11. The 11 weddings I've done, only one divorce.
That's good.
It's not bad.
That's a good ratio.
Better than the national average.
That's
Right?
a little bit better.
Right.
Just a little bit.
Just a tad. Yeah. So,
How do you become official in order to officiate a wedding?
well, you can get it online.
How long did it take you?
Took me about 8 minutes. I always say it's not about that. It's not about that. So yeah. Listen, am I an official minister? I mean, that's questionable. But no, But I definitely am official, and I enjoy doing them. I really do. I'm enjoying them more and more the more I do it. I really like it.
This has been a good flap.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Was this a grind?
Not at all.
If this was grindy, would you have told me?
Yes. It wasn't grindy at all, honestly. It was great.
Okay.
It was fun. Did you have a good time?
I had a blast.
Good.
Yes.
Good. How long do we go?
We're at about an hour 16 right now.
Nice.
Yeah, time flies when you're flapping.
It does, man. Great flap.
So did it live up to the intro? I guess it's for the audience to live up to the introduction.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it did.
I'm trying to capture what makes you you.
Yeah. I think it's easier when you're around somebody, because I think it's like when, who knows, you don't really get the full impression unless you're around somebody, but I think you brought a lot of good things out of me, so I appreciate it. It was fun.
Well, thanks for joining us.
And thanks for the range today. The range got me a new place. We're trying to go to new places every city we go to, right?
At least one place.
Right.
You can't go to the same place every meal.
Right.
Like you did in Portland.
I did 4 straight. I mixed it up, but that was only for like day games after. I went to Mother's a lot toward the end. I was going there every time. Yeah.
That's Johnny Doskow, and this was Life Around the Seams.